Of the Harrison County Board of Education, July 19th, 2022, and we will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Deputy, will you lead?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
They do.
Yeah.
After
And then we
10
get-
years.
Yeah,
After
they're
10
real.
years.
That brings us down to our item, special recognitions and presentations, and on tonight's agenda, we have weapons detection systems, and then I think we wrote in some other things to do with school safety with this. So with that, we'll turn it over to Jason Snyder, our Director of Safety and Discipline for Harrison County Schools.
If I could, your guests.
Okay.
Would it be okay if they maybe go first?
Sure.
Just to get their stuff out. Mine might take just a little bit longer, but I'll be more than happy to lump them if.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Okay, thank you, appreciate it.
Well, good evening, everyone. My name's Scott Swan. I'm originally from Doddridge County, West Virginia, so I'm from here. But just a little bit of background about myself. I am 18 years FBI, spent 14 years just up the road here at the Criminal Justice Information Services Division. Did a joint duty detail to the Director of National Intelligence for a year, and then 3 years at the FBI Director's Office, where actually I sat in a special assistance office. I served one of the number 3s in the FBI. I sat in the same room with one of the ladies who is now the premier expert on active shooter within the FBI as well, and good friends with her, Catherine Schwed. You probably see her on the news oftentimes. I'm joined by Jessica Self, also from Rank 1 Computing. The reason we're here today is we wanted to kind of bring you up to speed with a campaign that we've been doing across the state. We've briefed Marion County, Doddridge County, and we've had the benefit of also being able to talk to Harrison County this week as well. And it was recommended that we come here and kind of brief you guys as well. We're a computer vision company. Essentially what that means is if you see something and it's repeatable, we can help automate that kind of a process. You know, we're well known for what we've done in the past for facial recognition. We've done that for large government customers as well as commercial customers. But we're much more than that. Computer vision can be a lot of different things. You know, if you're in a restaurant and you want to see whether or not someone's cleaned the table or not, we can automate that process to say that table's been dirty for a couple hours now, and we need to get someone out there to clean that. Some of the technology that we have worked on has been beneficiary of some large federal dollars, and we support special forces groups, FBI, other entities that have large federal programs that we can provide artificial intelligence and computer vision capabilities for. We recently had a ribbon cutting and decided to open up our East Coast operations here in North Central West Virginia. We'll be in Morgantown. And as a part of that, while that's driven a lot by a DoD activity, we really wanted, especially being from here, first of all, very selfishly want to push jobs to West Virginia, but also want to kind of move forward with an organic strategy to try to make sure some of the locals and the counties can benefit from some of these technologies. You know, our technology wasn't really built necessarily to support school safety, but given what it was built for, which was actually to some extent a more complicated computer vision challenge, it really lends itself well toward that. You know, I'm from here, and I remember, not locking the doors to my house, not taking the keys out of my car until someone tries to hide it from you. Then you learn that you need to take the keys with you. But you like to believe that you can continue to do that type of stuff in today's environment. Unfortunately, as we look across the news, we see these school shooting incidents that can they felt very much the same way. And in small communities, it's oftentimes that people want to see the better in human beings, the human nature is to believe that people are generally good. Sometimes what that means from a security perspective is you're more adept to let people tailgate, even if you've built the right infrastructure in your schools where you have the air gaps. When someone is to be buzzed in, it's common that you'll just let them in and you believe that they're going to be okay. What we can do in that particular space is help, with some collaboration of making sure that you know who's good, know who's bad, and people that you don't know whether they are good or bad. Facilitate a visitor management system, whereas if you're a parent, you're a student, or you're someone, a vendor that may come in to work on Coca-Cola machines or whatever that may be, you can offer, instead of, something that is really invasive from a security perspective, a frictionless type of a security experience where people register, we try to push the perimeter out. We've done this for Department of Defense entities before where, the best security is not to deal with someone as soon as they get in your hallway. You try to push that perimeter out so that as they get closer, you try to, ramp up the security to the extent that you can, but you've already kind of vetted them. So one capability that we provide in the commercial sector, you probably used it. We white label it so people don't realize that it's us, but it's called ID proofing, where you essentially take a picture of your face, you take a picture of your driver's license or some sort of credential, you verify it's a live face, you verify the credential is correct, and then based off of that, and you do the match, the credential, you can, if you want to, do some additional background checks, but you usually allow them some kind of a authorized or trusted transaction. That might be visiting a school. So that idea that someone can push out a visit request and you can already kind of do a little bit of vetting on that person, or at least have security ready to receive them when they arrive here, whether it be a parent that's picking up a school, or uncle or aunt, or someone that's picking up a kid from school, or a vendor that's coming in that day. Some of the other capabilities as soon as they arrive is that, the computers never rust. So you will always, when you're buzzing someone in, at least you'll have some kind of alert that tells you, green light, yellow light, red light, that this person is, someone that has been expelled and you don't really want them on the premises right now, or someone that may be on the local law enforcement sheriff's wants and warrants list or something like that. So you can get those kind of alerts, sex offender alerts, all that type of stuff, and you can kind of really organize and streamline your processes for who you allow in and out. The other things that it allows, as we talk about moving that perimeter out a little bit, is, in the parking lot. Obviously, we've seen in the news, right? This is where, people will stand on the parking lot, prepare, maybe getting their trunk, get weapons out or whatever that may be. We have automated weapons detection. So if it's a short gun or a long gun, through just regular cameras, this isn't specialized, camera infrastructure. It's cameras that you probably already have at a lot of these schools. We can detect whether or not someone is loitering, standing in the parking lot for a certain amount of time, whether there's a congregation of people that's getting in the parking lot, whether or not they are brandishing a weapon or something of that sort. And so you can get those kind of alerts well before they get to the door when they're trying to be buzzed in as well. And then, as you think about other types of capabilities, as we've been talking in schools, we hear, how oftentimes does the wrong kid get on the wrong bus and you don't know how to really locate them. Those are problems that can be easily solved and, kind of offer some frictionless capability to, make sure that the right people are in the right place. And Lord forbid there is some kind of an emergency, even if it's just a fire drill. When you go through accounting for people, there's ability to do that in a much more rapid and frictionless way as well. As soon as someone is, encounters a camera, or, we have apps, so you can do this on smartphones and you take a picture or video stream or whatever, you can really, really quickly start accounting for all the people that you need to account for, time, space, geolocation, whatever that might need to be. And then you can also see who have not been able to account for and really kind of get that kind of quickly. So just want to kind of give you a little bit of an overview as a computer vision company, coming into West Virginia, we say kind of budget constrained state to some extent, there's no expectation that there's, a lot of revenue in this space. What we're really thinking is that, we have a lot of federal dollars that go in some of our capabilities. Everyone that works in our company is from West Virginia, in the East Coast at least. And we really want to try to find a way to get some of this technology in the hands of schools and to the local sheriffs and some others that, may not normally be able to afford what the federal government could afford. And for us, we can work more through partnership to kind of tailor those requirements to be able to make sure that, we do have a really solid solution that, there's 49 other states that we can sell that to. So I think that there's an opportunity here for us to demonstrate some of that technology for you if you're interested at one of your schools and prove out that it can actually provide that kind of frictionless security environment. As we talk about metal detectors and other things, I think there is some benefit of having that visual deterrent similar to a video camera itself. But the reality is that, even if you just look at TSA solves the metal detector problem because they throw a whole lot of people at that too. And, there's a lot of things that involve algorithms. You can tune these things so that they're either really, really precise, and in which case you probably also have to have a lot of people that's involved in the process because you want to have false alerts, or you tune them so that you can get a lot of people go through it at a time, in which case you're going to probably miss things. So there's no perfect technologies. There's no, silver bullet to security, and security is one of those areas, working in security most of my career, that there's not always large budgets to support security. But, there's the opportunity to implement security in a way that's very frictionless, also allows you to also provide some of the benefits. There's schools, Maryland, University of Maryland, for example, they were able to put frictionless biometric technology in place in their cafeteria, automatically deducted from the kids' meal plan. They went from 10 registers down to 1 just to handle exceptions. So there's some opportunity to leverage this technology, and you can have fun with it too. I've always kind of thought it would be neat, for someone that was administering the system to, send messages to the students as they're coming in, potentially as they see them, and say, great job in your spelling test last week, or load up a STARS database also and say, hey, has anyone ever told you look like Macaulay Culkin? And just have some fun with the technology itself. But really appreciate your time. We do have some slick sheets that kind of give you a little bit more detail about some of the solutions that we do provide. I know you have a whole unique set of requirements. We'd love to be able to work with you and try to solve some of those.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
You want to ask them any questions?
Anyone have any questions?
Well, I think it's, what we hear the presentation, don't totally understand the presentation. I think it would be advantageous for our.
And that's what I was saying, turn it over and Jason.
Let Jason get with them, work, take a look at it, because, you're going to present another program, and, so at least we can see 2 different programs, beneficial, what's not beneficial. Also, comes down to, as you said, the almighty dollar as to, what it would cost for your program, what it's going to cost for this other program that you're looking at and all. And then, bring that information back to us at the next board meeting, and then we can take a more serious look at what we're going to do. But with what's going on in this country today, I mean, we can't drag our feet and hesitate, because we don't know where it's going to happen and when it's going to happen next. So we just don't want it to be in Harrison County. Okay, thank you.
Yes, with that, just keep working with Mr. Snyder, and he can bring back.
Did you say you were willing to do it at one school, set up this program at one school, and is there a charge for that, or what's the?
No, it's always been a belief of mine that I like for customers to try before they buy.
Mm-hmm.
And, so the ability to stand something up in a school and let you, make sure that it's starting to meet your requirements, and also so you buy into a vision. I mean, you guys are going to have your own unique set of requirements that come along with that. And I think too oftentimes what I've seen in, especially at the small local level, is that you're forced into buying a COTS product and it works the way it works, and you don't get that ability to customize and add some requirements. What we want to do is make sure that you're a part of our product roadmap and that you have the ability to shape some of that. So I think you'd be very pleased with the current state of the solution, of what it can provide, and then hopefully you'd start being able to see a vision of what you could make it with some, a local provider that could make those kind of changes for you.
How long do you normally experiment, in a sense, at a setting?
It doesn't take that long, really. I mean, I think, 30-day after, it takes some time, and especially in today's environment, to get hardware and get things set up and networked and that type of thing. But honestly, within 30 days, I think you'll have a really good experience based off of that. We're in no hurry, to be honest. The school year will be starting. I'm sure you're going to have a lot of other distractions. So if you need to evaluate technology for 30, 90 days, that's not a problem whatsoever. And certainly, we'd want to make sure that, we were thorough with any kind of project that we did. We captured the results of that really well, and we were able to make sure that that was presented back to you guys so that you had a really, good understanding of how it worked and how it could work. And I should also mention that I've mentioned it to every school I've talked to so far. Rank 1, we're very much, we like to believe that we lead in a lot of the ethical use of some of these types of technology. So I think in parallel to how you use the technology, you should be thinking about the standard operating procedure on how you should not use the technology and make sure that that gets well documented. I think it would protect you down the road. The last thing that you want is civil liberties groups coming in and saying you're using this for this, that, or whatever. But I think most people buy into protecting kids. And if you really limit that to making sure the technology was used to help protect kids and support convenience on the school campus, I think you'd be in really safe territory.
And I think we're in a little bit more of a unique situation than any other county because we are one of the only few that hires a qualified law enforcement officer to run our safety. Most counties don't have that, and we've been fortunate enough to have someone that's a law enforcement professional in charge of our safety. So that gives you someone to work with rather than trying to bring your technology to 5 board members and explain it every step of the way. Give it to Mr. Snyder, and he can come back with this with his recommendations. And I know from my standpoint of working with Mr. Snyder, I trust what his opinion is going to be.
No, that sounds great. We appreciate the opportunity, at least kind of show you what we have, and we hope that it is something that you feel that you're able to help better protect students with. That's really ultimately what we want to be able to provide.
Okay, thank you.
So you said this is a or a facial recognition program?
It's computer vision, so it's more than just face recognition. For example, we can detect vehicles, license plate recognition, just a person, weapons. We detect objects, and then you, as the Board of Education, can help define what the business rules about what you do with that information. And so this is why documenting that standard operating procedure, I think, is important. Retention. There's no need to retain data for people that are ultimately doing good things, but if you want to work with law enforcement to get copies of the local wants and warrants, sex offenders lists, or things like that, and make sure that they're not, loitering on the premises, then I think that most people get comfortable with knowing that you're searching against that kind of data.
And I guess to bring it in layman's terms, like an example, let's say we trespass someone off of school grounds and we know what their vehicle is. You can load that data in, and then we know they come onto the school grounds, it's going to alert us.
Yeah, within a millisecond, you can get an alert to your mobile phone, secretary, command center, wherever you want it to go, to your law enforcement. So if you have, people that you not wanted to get on property, you have vehicles that you want to, make sure that doesn't get on property, or at least maybe not get on property, but just to make sure you have, terminate employee. If you just want to have awareness that someone may be here because you're concerned that they're showing up after they've been expelled and you don't want to see any trouble, there's a lot of things that you can do. Definitely that early detection and awareness is key for preventing a lot of the more heinous crimes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Obviously safety is our concern for schools across the nation. I had been working with Mon County. Actually, we had done this way before, but they kind of got ahead of me and got these units ordered before me. But these are, from what we can gather, I've spoken with the rep that handles these units. They are weapon detecting units. They're not, don't confuse them with metal detectors. Metal detectors, as we've seen in airports, you walk through, they buzz you, you have to go to the side. There's just a lot of different factors with a metal detector. These are weapon detectors. We can set these, the sensitivity level on these to pick up a paper clip with someone walking into a school, which is going to hold up everybody. When we're talking about 1,000 plus kids coming into a school, it's just, there's no way it would work. There's a setting on these that the person that's running the unit, which it's kind of a little overlay on the units itself that I've given you. The PRO or the admin staff at the schools will have the ability to set the settings on these with their cell phone. It's an app that they download that comes with the units as well as the training that would be involved with these. There is some training involved. It's very simple and basic. Like I said, I spent the day in Morgantown. We shot through the detectors and was able to show me how easy these units actually are to use. One of the biggest things about these detectors that we are talking about is, and Todd's got a couple videos, and it's a little easier to sometimes visually see how these things work than just looking at pictures. So with that, I'd like to have Todd, if you could, let's play the, yes. This is at a stadium. They have these at all the theme parks, most of the theme parks, Disney, I believe a few others as well. Run off of a battery that's basically fits like in your grill at home, cordless grill. 2 batteries per set. There's 2 batteries in each end. As you see him picking up each end, you can get an 8-hour session out of the batteries. So this company, SIA, they've been around. Last year, I spent, while I was working with the Marshal Service, a week in Birmingham, and they had several of these units, not this particular unit, but this company that had put, it's in the federal courts. They use, SIA is a very well-known company. It's not a fly-by-night company. I strongly recommend them as far as the company goes. And from the information that I've gathered from these weapon detectors, they are definitely state-of-the-art, one of a kind. There's other units that do very similar things, but they don't do exactly what this one does. Having said that, I'm going to give you another video that really breaks it down to what we're looking for in the schools for safety. Todd, if you could play the other video for me. This is a really good breakdown of exactly what this unit does. So as you can see, this is toned into dense metal, which is
What
contained in a
about
gun. I'm sorry?
What about a knife?
Pocket knives, if we tone it back for pocket knives, we're going to pick up essentially everything on that board. We're looking for weapons that are going to come into the school and cause mass destruction, which, we're getting into a gun with, several rounds of bullets that are really going to cause problems. When we get into knives, pocket knives, no, they're not supposed to be in the school. We do everything we can to keep them out of the school. But I don't think they're going to cause mass destruction in a school with a pocket knife. It can do, but and I don't condone it. I don't think a knife should be in school at all. But guns is where we're at today. Yeah.
What do you envision being the setup?
Um,
Do you envision one in each school, two sets in each school?
Well, we like to start small,
Mhm.
just because, they're not cheap.
Mhm.
There is some cost to them. Initially, I started with 3, and I thought, three's probably not going to get it. So we've kind of bumped it up to 4. It's 4 is going to get us a couple schools initially, but as you can see, these are completely portable. We can move them from school to school. We can put them at the football games. We can put them at dances, proms, any type of, large events. You don't have to have a power source. We can move them anywhere. That was kind of a huge selling point for me, knowing that we don't have to, have these power points on the middle of a football field or an entrance, some of these different places. This was, essentially something that we can move and move it in an area that we have a lot of people that could go through this, and this would detect, any type of weapon. And we can limit it back. It doesn't have to be just knives or guns. It can be anything. But I think what we're looking for today with this unit is guns in school. Morgantown right now, Mon County, I believe they have 13.
You'll say they.
It's 13 or 14.
Yeah.
And they just ordered
Two in each.
basically 2 in each school. Yeah. Because the more of these we have, the more entrances that the schools have, the faster you can get the kids in the school.
Do they have to be paired?
They need to be 3 feet apart.
I mean, there has to be the 2.
Yes,
So when
you
you're
have to have
saying
2.
4, you were saying 4.
Right.
Are you saying
Right,
4
so two
sets?
schools.
4 sets.
Okay, so
Yes.
that would get it. So, I mean, and you have in your mind, without giving away, whatever safety,
Right.
come forward, which schools
Right.
you have in mind, and it may not, I'm guessing maybe it's not all the high schools that
It's not.
Okay.
But again, I'm going to be working, especially with Cody here from the Sheriff's Department. We're going to have, obviously the PROs need to be trained on, and as well as administration at the school. So it's going to be kind of potluck. We don't know
And
which
that's,
school
I
it's going to
mean,
be.
from my standpoint, and I know you're not done with it, but,
Right.
I know you have addition to the high schools, you want one, but I'd like to see, we need to find a way to make sure we have one at each high school.
Oh, I'd love to get.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't want to, I really don't want to get in a situation, I know money's money, but I don't want to get in a situation where we're choosing and then something happens at the one we didn't choose.
Exactly.
So that's kind of where I'm at. I mean, okay, if you have another hotspot you need it at, but I'd like to make sure we had one at each high
Oh,
school.
absolutely. Yeah, I'd like to do it.
Well, I agree with that, but I also want to wait and I'm not a person who likes to wait, but I'd also like to see this other company where if, could be a possibility of a combination of this program and their program to cover our.
That's kind of where I was going with it.
Okay.
That it's,
All right.
this is, in that program that they just gave you a presentation on is another tool in the toolbox. Just as this one is.
Right.
And, we can't have too many layers of
Safety.
safety in the
Again, that's what I'm
school.
saying. I'm worried about having too few, meaning,
Right.
when you're talking, if you've got 5 high schools and you pick 3, we know that what's going to happen is going to happen at one of the others. And then we're going to say, well, how come you didn't
Oh, absolutely.
put them at that school?
I'm always one to start small, see how they work.
Yeah.
And it would have been better to get this like for summer school setting. Mon County did have that luxury. And they've got to see how they're working and work out the bugs before all your kids get into the school.
Have you talked
So,
to Mon County?
I have, yeah, I've been working with their safety director there, and at first, it's kind of confusing for everybody because it's something new, but they have worked through it, and I was at Morgantown High, I believe they have around 1,800 students. They're towards the end of school, it took about an hour and a half the first day. The second day, it got down, they actually got it down to about 30 minutes to get most of the people into the schools and get through these detectors. But they have 4 detectors at the school and 2 different entry points.
Right.
So it's a little bit easier, when you have more of these detectors that you can put in. So that was kind of but the layers of protection is where I'm kind of getting with this. The other pilot, this one, work together. That's more of a camera system kind of deal. These are physical items that are out that parents are seeing when they're dropping these kids off. And I think it's a very good, not only deterrent, but it is all, chances are we'll never get a kid walk through here with a gun, but.
Well, we
We
deal through the year with hotspots.
Exactly.
So this would give us,
It
because
would.
we know it happens 8 o'clock at night, there's an internet threat at
Exactly.
Lincoln.
Yep.
And this would give us the ability to
We
pull
can
all
set 'em
these
up.
for the next day.
We
They're
can.
mobile, take them there.
Yes.
Have everyone and run 4 of them at once and get them through
Absolutely.
there.
Yep.
I have a question.
Yes.
When you're selecting your schools where you'd like to place these weapons detectors, is it possible to look at some disciplinary issues at individual schools, suspensions, reasons for suspensions, the number of suspensions per school? Could that be some indicator as to which school that you would actually place those weapons detectors? Because a lot of times it happens with disgruntled children.
It does. Yeah, and that is exactly how we would use it. I rely on my law enforcement that are in the schools. They have access to all that. They deal with it on a daily basis. They talk to each other as well as administrators in the schools. So if there are areas such as Mr. Hamrick had mentioned, we have hot spots. You'll get a school that some threats had come in. That is certainly something we can act on right now with these units. We can get them transported to the school very, very quickly, get them set up, have our PROs ready, for when the kids do come in. So yes, that is exactly how we would use them, based on disciplinary and problems that they've had in the school.
Then also, could you maybe explain the process of what happens when the metal detector goes off? Who is alerted?
Certainly.
Where are they stationed?
Right.
Who's going to be responsible for searching,
Yeah,
et cetera, and
sure.
what the plan is for that?
Those are good questions.
And
Yeah.
how many officers, for instance, the Cody, for instance, is doing scanning, it goes off.
Right.
And somebody on the
Who's
other end of the
going out in front
building?
of the school, if he's normally there for the day of a morning,
Well-
who's doing that duty? Are we going to provide another officer for an hour a day or so, or?
The way, I'm just going to go off the way Morgantown's doing it. And of course, their situation is every school is going to be different because we all know all the schools
Yeah.
are not the same. So it kind of depends on the geographic location and also the area of the school that the kids are coming in. Are there multiple entry points? Is it just one door in, one door out, for kids when they come in? Morgantown High, I believe on the last page of this, I have a couple pictures of the way they've got that set up. There's a table that's sitting in between the 2 entry points at Morgantown High. What they are doing is the PRO stands up near both sets of the weapon detectors. There's a table. Mon County uses Chromebooks. Chromebooks set these off because of the density that's in these Chromebooks. So they set their Chromebook on the table that's in the middle of these detectors. Then what they do is they pass through with their backpack or whatever it may be. If it sets the weapon detector off, they have them take their backpack off, go back through. If it doesn't go off, then they've got an issue in the backpack. So what we do is we have one male, one female administrator that are at the school, whether it be a principal, whoever the principal would designate. They then have an area off to the side that they would put either the male or the female, okay, that they need a secondary search is basically where I'm going with that. They're not going to be far from my officer. The officer is going to be, again, just standing near the weapon detecting system. Your two students, whether it be male or female, are going to go over to one of the administrators. They're going to have, I believe all the schools, correct me if I'm wrong, have at least a one metal detector. They will then, the administrator will go over and just take it over. If it's a backpack, they'll go through the backpack. If it's going to require a secondary search, I've talked with the prosecuting attorney for this county. She's wanting some data on how many strikes we get. You know, if I get a kid come through and this is going off, which it shouldn't, but it's a machine and machines always make mistakes. You know, it can happen. We don't want to unnecessarily search kids that don't need search. So if it's going off just on guns, I think that's going to limit it down to, it's going to give my officer a lot more probable cause to go up and search that child, if that's the case, and if it's on the child and not in a backpack that an administrator can do. So basically how it's going to work when they're coming in the school, you're going to walk through these machines. It goes off, the RO is going to say, I need you to step over here, and we're going to have a second line. One of those administrators are going to do what's called a secondary search, whether it be a backpack. If we get into a body search, you know, if it's obvious, this person's got a gun, he's going to be right there, or she, because we have a female at Bridgeport. So that's kind of how it works. That's how they've been doing it at Morgantown. I can't give you stats here because we haven't used them yet, but I think we can work together with the Sheriff's Department in Bridgeport to get a steady flow in. It's going to be a little difficult at first, but I think we'll get there as time goes on. So schools, we'll figure that out. We'll work with law enforcement and figure out which schools need it first. And we can always have the luxury of moving them around, where a standard metal detector, it's impossible. Big clunky unit, you got to put it together,
Well, I
plug it
guess
in.
my other point, which I said I'd like to have more, obviously.
Sure.
The flip side of that does work is if no one knows when they're going to be there, that's also a deterrent.
I like that. I like that. So
I mean, if they go through it today and then tomorrow, if they were planning on doing something, they may think twice because it was there. Well, they may
Right.
go in today and it's not there.
Right.
Well, at that point, they're not going back to
Sure.
get whatever. So that's a deterrent as well.
It is.
If it's keeping them on their toes as to where it's going to be.
Right.
So you're referring to like actually making it some of the mobile and random
Yeah, so
spots?
let's say you're at, Bridgeport High for these 2 days and then you move it to Lincoln. Someone that went through it in 2 days at Bridgeport High, if he was thinking about something, he's going to just assume they're there.
Mhm.
He does, if you don't know what days they're going to be there, that's a deterrent in itself.
And you had mentioned hotspots before, so does that mean we have metal detectors now?
We've
Mobile?
borrowed them before.
We've borrowed them and they're not mobile. I mean, these are units, they're very clunky. They've got to have a power source. And I don't even believe any of them work at this point. They're so
Okay, I
old.
thought
They
we
were,
had
they
some.
were several years
Yeah,
old.
and what happens is you'll get an internet threat, 8 o'clock at night. They'll mobilize with the police to be at the school the next day. I mean,
Right.
you have two remedies. You can either close
Yeah.
for the day, which means if you start closing, you're going to continue to get those threats because kids know that they can close the school. Or you can show up in force, go
Right.
through the metal detector. This would be a lot easier. You're just going
Much
to load them
easier.
up, take them down, set them up, and the hotspot. And I think after a while, even a kid that's making hollow threats, they know that it's kind of a pain to have to go through there the next day
It
when
is.
they do, and it is a deterrent.
It is.
So back onto security, we were talking about multiple layers. So right now, we all the camera systems are in all of the schools, correct?
Correct.
They're all operational,
Yes.
okay? And then I think when the next thing was secure entrances.
Yes.
So we have those in place, but we don't have all of them in place yet?
Well, every school's secure with key cards.
Key cards,
To
right.
get in. We have a number of schools that we're working on. I'm working with Mr. Lopez. We are doing secure entries at some of the schools, and it's a slow process because it's very expensive.
And how many of those are left?
We're working on Nutter Ford is our next one.
It's on tonight's agenda.
Yeah, okay. It may be on tonight's agenda, and then we've got, I believe we spoke,
South Harrison Middle School,
yes,
we have Mentor Middle School, Bridgeport High School.
yes. Those are all slated.
What about Bridgeport Middle?
Bridgeport Middle, I think it's a much easier fix, but
Okay.
yes, that is another one.
It is on the list.
Then we have a couple schools.
It was the
that
two
are-
south there.
Yeah. And I guess what I'll say now, even though that's, we're voting on it later, we'll vote on the Nutter Fort, that leaves those other four.
Sure.
What I would suggest, with this new bill that was passed on the assault weapons ban, there is money for school safety there. And so I would really ask that we get an architect or someone to go ahead and spec out those other four. Because if this money comes through, they're going to want we'd be shovel ready, and we'd be able to go. So we know we're going to do the four. One way or another, we're going to get them done. It's just whether we do one a year, two a year. Well, why don't we go ahead, get them on the drawing board, drawn up, and if a pile of money comes through, we may be able to take care of all four at the same time. So let's get, that's my opinion, let's get the drawings.
Right.
Well, when I was assistant principal at Robert G. Byrd, and all back when Moby Dick was a minnow, we did use the wands. And you talk about backup. I mean, it was almost lunchtime before we got them kids in school, because you had to wand each kid, and if it went off, but it picked up everything, pocket knives, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, that's why this, I like this.
So, like I said, I mean, that was the top thing then
It
at that
was.
time.
Yeah, it was.
As time goes on,
Sure.
it changes, and like I say, now, like you say, you had the others that was stationary, now you got the ones that you
Right.
can go through and what have you.
Yeah.
But I just think that, I'm one of these, as Mr. Hamrick said, if we get the two going at Nutter Fort, the others ought to already be there on the drawing board, everything spec'd out, and money comes through or not, then while these two are being built and you're ahead on them, then maybe we can jump on another school, because like I said, it's, in this day and time.
We're going to do the four, so we
Right,
might as
we're
well
gonna
get
go.
the drawings.
But, I mean, we gotta move, student safety's gonna be the.
Stay ahead of the game.
Top.
We
Oh,
do.
right.
What's the cost per unit?
These units, I believe I've spec'd out, and I believe I've given the superintendent, they're 15,000 apiece. And that's
Okay.
one unit with 2 poles.
Yeah.
It's 15,000. And then I believe it was, I want to say 3,500 or 2,500 for the training.
2,500 for training.
2,500 for training, and that trains all of these guys plus any of the admin staff at all the locations. Anybody that's going to be using it will be trained. You have to be trained.
How quickly could we get them? I mean, if we got them on an agenda approved, is there a back order on them?
These aren't, but our training is. Our guys out at least mid-August right now, and that was a week and a half ago. So the faster, obviously.
That's what I'm saying. I was just wondering, could we get them, before the start of the school, get our training done?
That was my goal.
Okay.
That was my goal to do. But again, I could probably bring down the safety guy in Mon County, and he would probably come down and do a quick training for these guys that has already been trained. But it's not the official training through this company.
Well, I was just talking to Superintendent Stetler, and this is sole source.
Right.
Because it does what it is.
Yeah.
And we can do one of two things. We can either put it on the next agenda, get it done, or since it is sole source, under.
We can order, we can order them.
She,
if that's
on the
desire.
superintendent, you know, if it's kind of our desire, then she can go ahead, and that's the way it kind of gets the ball rolling.
I would
You can
love to
get the
do that.
training.
Yeah.
If there's no objection, I mean,
Yeah.
you know.
I'd kind of like to see the camera situation, the program that the other
Oh,
guy,
I do too, but I think this is a
but
little
he said,
separate.
because he just said that they could actually
Set it up and do
set it
one
up
from
and actually
school.
do the weapons recognition with the
That's-
video camera
Yeah,
also.
there was a little more of that, and we met with them yesterday for about an hour and a half.
Mhm.
More from the perimeter
Yes,
standpoint?
you've got to have, Todd, we have to have IP cameras, or they preferred IP cameras to be able to pick up. So digital cameras in the parking lots, and that's if they brandish it. It
It
doesn't
has to
pick
be in
up.
the open.
Yeah, it doesn't pick up on somebody's person. Because that was a question.
Yeah, if
of
they
mine.
had it in their, yeah, on their.
Concealed
Concealed and
Yeah,
walked in.
it's
it
sealed,
was-
it's not going to pick up anything. Okay, that's what this system does.
You would
That's-
have to see them taking it out of their.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, but I'm
And
gonna
I
look
thought
at
the
it
same
because
thing you
he's
did.
willing to do it.
When
Yeah.
it was, I was
Not
like, wow,
charged.
this thing can pick up, on someone's pocket, and that's not what it is. And if our cameras are not high definition enough, it would be far enough out, it's not going to pick it up.
Okay.
It won't pick it up. So I covered it yesterday.
Right, and I think I'd still like to see their demo, but.
Absolutely.
But I think, I've never thought of these as one against the other.
No.
I like
It can be a
this, and,
combination.
and I'm impressed
so
with
too.
the fact you can run them through and it is dense, it's recognizes the density.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that's the key, and that's what gets our kids in the schools faster, and we don't get the clog, you do with the metal detector.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
I just think that we need to get moving on. I mean, I just don't want to see us trade daylight for darkness,
I don't need,
so,
Yeah.
if you get them ordered and they're here, and then, then when you can set up the training and stuff, then we're ready to go with it. I mean,
Jason, do we have a relationship with Mon County that, since we do have summer school going on right now, and they probably are not using all theirs, that we could borrow a couple of those to try at our summer school to see it? Is it over yet?
Ours is over.
I think ours
We're
is
doing
over.
The
Or did they
ES
just finish?
ESY
Yeah.
program started this week, and that would not probably be ideal to try these with.
Okay.
Sorry, young.
it's a good thought, though, and I would have liked to have
Yeah, I
gotten them
even
in
had
a
it
little
written down.
earlier to be able to do that, but if we get them here, at least like Mr. Hope said, get them here, we'll have them, get the training set up, and then I think we can get them implemented into the schools. I think that's number one, just to have them here, have the actual units here. So
And I like
that's,
them as well. Maybe you have a threat at a sporting event, there's a football game.
Yeah.
What do you do, cancel it? No.
No.
You run them through the
you run them out.
detector.
Yep. And we can move them anywhere. They're 25 pounds apiece, and that's with the battery in. So one person could feasibly lift up two of them and walk them out.
So two of these are 15,000.
That's one unit.
One set.
That's one unit. That's a
Which
set,
is a set, yeah.
15,000. Yes.
And
We had some carryover technology.
what about the computer program
We've got the
that
money
supports
that we have
it?
to spend.
Is there?
There is no, that, it's all downloaded. It's an app that goes on your phone,
Okay.
and the PROs and your admin staff will be able to adjust them. Morgantown has worked with those enough that we know where it needs to be to pick up
Yes,
games.
that's
So
eight.
that's-
That would be eight.
That's one of the big things about
That's
it.
8 poles.
I'll be all right. And the people-
It'd be April.
Yeah, 8
And
poles.
we
you're
have,
talking
we have
around-
technology carryover money, I've been told.
Okay.
Yeah, we,
I mean, I would suggest if there's enough to buy 5 for all the high schools, then
one set for each high
one
school.
set for each high school.
The trouble with those is the multiple entry points.
Mhm.
Technically, if you really want to do it right, you need 2 for each school.
I know what you're saying.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah.
We would need 10.
I mean, I can lean it out, but the less that we have at each school, the harder it is to get all the students in. Your bigger schools, they need to.
Mhm.
They truly need to, at least 2. Morgantown High, they've got 6, but they also have 1,800 students.
Right.
So,
And you'll coordinate where these are going, meaning
Yes.
you'll have a random,
right. Yeah, and we're going to work, and that's one of the other reasons I wanted to bring Cody here tonight. He's a PRO, for those of you that didn't know. I think everybody does know. We are working with the county, has some new programs. Again, we're on safety. And they have recently sent one of their deputies, it's a PRO, to Alice training, I believe it is. Alice training, and he is now an Alice instructor, which is the new active shooter type training. It's not active shooter anymore, it's called Alice, although the state still requires active shooter training, but it is now called Alice. I'd have Cody come up and he's going to give you just kind of a little overlay of what we're doing with the Sheriff's Department and law enforcement. Do you all have any other questions about this system that I could answer before I turn the board over to
How much
Cody?
money do we have in carryover? Did we get more than?
I think, after speaking with Jason, I think he wanted to start with the 4 units to get them, that was what was going to be manageable for them at the time to train and
Okay.
Yes,
mean-
to start.
just from the conversation.
And then maybe
Yeah.
come back after the
Because
first
with
month of
each
school.
unit, you have to
and-
train.
That's going to happen.
We've gotta get
That's
you
truly
trained.
going to happen. That happened in Morgantown. They bought 8 to start with, and within a week, they were ordering, 4 and 5 more. They said, we've got to get them in all.
But you're saying, the high
The
school,
new math.
Yeah.
what about a middle school or two that maybe we think is a high?
And we can move those units to that middle school. But I would say at least one unit, 2 poles in like a middle school or a grade school. I mean, who's to say we wouldn't try one at the grade school? I mean, it's.
But I'd say go with 4 of these. One, you come back after the 30 days of the
Yeah.
start of the school year and give us a report
I agree.
and tell us how they're working and.
Yeah.
But if you set up the training, can't you train all the middle school administrators, all the
I think
elementary,
that's what he.
Yes.
everybody at one
That is,
time?
that's the
That
goal.
way
Whenever you're
additional
able to add
sets
Yes.
won't matter.
Yeah, it would be
Yeah,
everybody.
Everybody will
Yeah,
be
you can
trained.
train everyone.
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
So
And
it's not-
that's what comes with that training.
The training is per, you can have as many people in the training as you want.
Correct.
So you can only pay for one training fee?
Yes, one training fee.
But
Is that
you
just
have
one
to
session?
purchase them to get the training.
We do have to purchase them to get the training. We can't do the training and then the purchase.
$3,500 for one session.
Okay?
Well, it's $2,500 per training.
It's,
They will
4
come
would be,
several times.
4, 8, 12, yeah.
Yes.
4 sets,
Use
4
it.
sets.
$2,500 every time they show up.
That's good.
It's a
Just a flat
$2,500
fee.
flat
I thought it was
fee.
3,500, didn't you? Did you say 3,500 for the training?
It's 20.
2,500, I believe. Yes, it is 2,500. I'm sorry. I'm mistaken.
But I thought you said-
And I'm sure that's maintenance
I mean,
and that's,
Yeah,
tech support.
it is.
So, okay.
So can, as we add systems, can our people train our people?
Yes.
So- Okay.
Yes.
So your people do it.
They're not hard to use at all.
Okay.
Not hard to use at all. Very, very simple.
Thank you.
But
Okay.
in order to get those initial ones, we have to agree to the training.
We do.
Training.
Yeah.
Yes,
And then we can add as many.
we can add as many as we need to at some point. Okay?
Well, like I said, I'm great with it.
It's safety, guys. Times are changing. And like you said, Doug, you use the old hand wands and those have kind of gone to the wayside.
Actually, Doug was taking slingshots.
Well, you said that, not me. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Cody. He's got a couple things he wanted to go over with collaboration with the Board of Education and the Sheriff's Department, as well as Bridgeport Police. Okay. Thanks.
Yes, sir. Hello, everyone. If you don't know me, I'm Deputy Cody Shingleton, PRO at Lincoln High School. Before I get on my topic, this detector, obviously it's going to work great in the schools, but for me personally, I'm excited to have it at events like proms and graduations and things like that, because of the football games, whatever it may be, because with the students, we PROs, we at least have rapport with the kids, and I could kind of read my kids knowing this is not going on, or they're usually good about telling me who's got something going on, or the community, I get text messages all the time, this is going on in so-and-so's home, you might want to keep an eye on it. But when we have, graduation or prom, and all the parents are coming in, I don't know these people, so it would make me feel very comfortable to know that everybody just went through this detector, and I at least know that no one probably has a firearm in here. So that, to me, is going to be huge. Obviously, on the day-to-day school is awesome too, but those events when I have people coming in that I don't know and I can't read and know their body language, that's going to be huge to me. So we just sent Deputy Zach Hudson, he's a PRO at United High School, to be a certified ALICE instructor, and ALICE stands for Alert, Lockdown, Inform, Counter, and Evacuate. Counter is in how do we fight this off. The old style of active shooter when I was in high school was just kind of barricade the door and hide under your desk. You know, those days are over with. We've got to teach the students how to, how to fight. What happens if someone comes in? You hate to talk about it, and I hate that we have to, look into all these tools, but it's such a necessity because, as we know, society is not what we used to know. And I can go on an all-day topic of why that is, but it is, and it is here locally. And I hate to say that as far as what's going on in the nation. You see it. You see what's going on with kids, how people are acting, and you'd like to say that's never going to happen around here, but unfortunately, in my 13 years of law enforcement, in the past 4 or 5, I've really noticed a decrease in how people are acting towards us and just towards people in general. Everyone's very defiant now, and it's not because maybe the officer's demeanor or something. It's just from go, like, hey, I'm with the sheriff's office, called 911, is everybody okay? And it's just one like that. We've never had that before. We have lieutenants that have been here for 30 years, talk about how bad things are getting. And here locally, not to scare anybody, I don't want to say build a bunker and don't live your life. We have very blessed to have a community like this. But we're starting to get a lot of people that did not grow up in this community and are trickling in from out of state. We're getting a lot of people from Detroit area, Pittsburgh area, bringing things in here that they shouldn't be. We're seeing a lot of that, and that's just reality. I think in the past since the beginning of the year, I'm on the Harris County SWAT team. So we have been activated about twice a month now, it seems like, for some type of active shooter situation. Not something that's pre-planned like we know is going to happen. It's respond to the office now, this is going on. And those things are just becoming more and more common, and it's scary. So that's the society that we're dealing with now. So we've got to be able to prepare for that. So when these active shooter things happen, we as law enforcement, especially the PROs in this county, we're big on like, how do we look at this situation and see what they did wrong? Not to critique them or anything, but what did they do that maybe we're doing that didn't work? What are they doing that we could do better? And we always do that once the investigation's done. We don't want to base it off what Facebook tells us immediately. But once a true investigation's done of these active shooters, we break it down. So we've been doing that, and we've been seeing things that are working and what's not working. And the last thing that I know that we all would want is something to happen in Harrison County, West Virginia, and the nation look at Harrison County, West Virginia and say, that we don't want to do what they were doing. We don't want somebody critiquing everything we've done because we weren't doing it right. We want the nation to look at Harrison County and say, we got to do what they were doing because it worked. And it's not just what works and what doesn't. Sometimes technology increases and the bad guys figure out how to get around things. So we look at these active shooter situations and say, hey, that has worked for 10 years, but the bad guy has figured out how to get around that now. So we try to take that information.
And I think, go back to that when we do active shooter training anymore, where we teach all we've done over the last 20 years is teach the kids what to do if they're not, if they know what everyone's planning on doing, they become the active shooter, 10 years later when they're in high school, and we've just trained them how to be that. So
right.
That's why I don't really like active shooter training involving the kids.
So when we do it with the kids, we do it at a very kind of a watered down version. We'll tell the teachers a lot more. I don't want to tell the students exactly I'm not going to tell them our tactics. When this happened, this is what law enforcement's going to do. We're not going to tell them that. But the students need to have a general idea of how to defend themselves and what to do, because in a situation like that, it's just going to be mass chaos. And, we as law enforcement, we train for these events, and, we mentally prepare every day. Well, I don't expect the 12-year-old to come into school every day and mentally prepare for something like that to happen. Now, I hate to think that you even have to do that. That's why we leave it up to staff to kind of have a general idea, but you want them to have some type of foundation of how to defend themselves and what to do. Because there could be a situation where a teacher, they might just lock up. We did statistics out of Columbine. At one of our PRO conferences, the principal of Columbine at that time came to our conference and spoke to us. And there was a teacher that went outside to try to lock the door, and it took 20 minutes to lock the door because they were in such high stress situation, they couldn't lock the door. So, and those things happen. That's human nature. You might have a staff member, because I don't expect a staff member to, prepare for a day of how I prepare for my shift. They shouldn't have to do that. But the reality is you kind of got to have a general idea. So we do water it down. But I agree. You don't want to tell everybody your tactics, but we just give them enough information to how they can all work together to get it resolved if there is somebody come in and do an active shooter situation. But we are training, we will be able to train more staff now. We did go to every school on faculty senate days, the PROs. We would teach the active shooter. We take our guns with the blank rounds to demonstrate what the audio is of how gunshots are. Then we give them, what to do if this happens, how to prevent this. What do you do if law enforcement shows up? We want them to know that. We break that down into everything. So, but we'll be doing that more with Mr. Snyder. We're going to really bring them in. There's no reason that we can't do, like my school, for example, we were doing Lincoln High School one day, Lincoln Middle. Well, there's no reason we can't bring them together and bring in the elementary. So we can knock out way more teachers if we just do it all together. But we're excited for it. And Deputy Hudson will be getting that ALICE training out to everybody. We're eventually going to be certified too, to teach everyone. I think we got some new material to teach with the safety stuff, but I think it's looking very promising. Mr. Snyder has been absolutely wonderful. I think we're definitely off to the right start. He's been wonderful working with us. We're excited to work with him. And on behalf of all the PROs, I just want to thank you all because you've always been so supportive of the PRO program. So just on behalf of all of us, thank you for that. So if there's anything that we could do that you want to see brought into the schools to teach the staff or the students, please reach out. If we don't know, we'll get trained up on it. But I think we're definitely moving in the right direction.
Thanks, Cody.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. All right, any questions? If not, we'll move down to item 4, delegations. Do we have any delegations? No delegations. Superintendent's update.
Yeah, I have a few things. I just want to begin by saying I appreciate, Mr. Snyder was coming in. He's already met with the pro officers on multiple occasions and trying to get a cohesive unit so all of our pro officers know what they need to be doing in the buildings and setting the parameters on what their duties are. So I appreciate that, bringing that group together and providing support. So, and it looks like Cody's going to be one of our leaders in that, as he has been with our pro officers. So I appreciate that, and that you're really important to our school system. So thank you for that. I just want to start by, so we have some curriculum updates. I want to just tell this board, anybody that's familiar with the school system, in the WEVAS program, we had a change of that program at the state level, and it's a WEVAS 2.0, and it became I think it was Friday, right, is when they took the old one away. So our departments, and it's happening across the state, struggling to get our previous student information. So just bear with us. Our schools are going to be struggling, I think, especially our high schools, middle schools, and all of them trying to get student information. So they're working through the bugs at the state level, but it's not been a great beginning. So, and we're thinking we're going back to school, trying to get things organized and started, and you go in and the information's not there. It was really brought to my attention today. Mr. Kirby came down. He's doing a lot of court hearings and trying to go back and find attendance for students last year, not in there. He can't get the records he needs. He was fairly frustrated. So if you hear some of the principals and administrators out there, there is frustration, and rightfully so. I went on today to get just general information that I normally can see and couldn't find it. So anyway, just to give you a heads up, because you may be hearing that from some of the administrators. I think they opened back up the old, for some of the attendance directors, I heard at the end of the day. So so they could get their information. Under curriculum, that kind of falls under curriculum, but we have, I have Julie Mancini going to give you an update on summer school, since we just ended our normal SOL program.
It is in your folder, you have a front and back. Number of students, you can see it has gone down from last year. We don't have as many students participating, there were 515 students. 71 at Big Elm, 93 at Johnson, 100 at Nutterport, 46 at Bridgeport Middle, 19 at Lincoln Middle, 26 at Mountain Middle. And the high schools, at Bridgeport High School, there was 18.5 credits recovered through credit recovery, at Liberty 10, at Lincoln 11, RCD 22, and South Harrison High School 41.5. So those were the summaries of that. This is stuff where I want you to.
Oh, if you want to go ahead and share that, since you helped work on that today.
It is also in your thing, a county list, contact list for county office. It's a sheet that has boxes on it. It's just sort of a quick synopsis of who does what and how to get hold of them. So whether for you, whether for principals, whether for staff out there, if they wanted to know, who does purchasing for Title I, they look across here and they see Pam Harmer and her extension. So if they had questions for that, or something for finance, or at the top, Mr. Dorico for secondary, me for elementary, anything in that realm at all. And then there's some specifics down through there.
We were trying to create something that can be a visual for the schools, because we have had some changes in staffing and who's doing what here at the county office, so that should be helpful. There's also an organizational chart in your folder, but I think that pretty much sums that up. So we'll have a more extensive list of things at our retreat for staff and duties as well. Also, extended school year. She was talking about our Summer Soul program just finished up. The extended school year, which we have every year, is just started this week at Nutterport Primary, and it will last 2 weeks, correct? So, yeah, how many students do we have involved in that?
I don't know that number.
Right off?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yesterday they did.
Just about 18?
Many come as they thought.
Okay.
About 25.
Yeah.
Who actually attends summer school, the summers that just passed, and who attends the extended school year?
The
Program.
Regular summer school.
Yeah.
Is anyone who would like to. The extended school year is a special education service that goes with their IEP.
We provide an additional 2 weeks if their IEP warrants that for the students. The summer school programs, just to give you kind of a back history, when the county received ESSER money, there was a portion of that money for summer programming. And we are in our second year of that. We received funding for 4 years. So we have enough money to run the program 2 more summers from that initial set of ESSER funding. Included in that was a summer program. You'll see extended day positions at the schools, like interventionists for learning loss. That was a portion of that money. So we have that for 2 more years. So we'll be able to duplicate the summer program for 2 more summers.
Are we considering how to pay
How
for
to fund that?
going forward after the 2 years?
We have had that conversation, and as the numbers, like you said, they went down this year, so we're seeing that the staffing would not be as great, but we do want to offer something. We don't want to just pull it completely away, but we will not be able to fund it at the levels we are now. But there's just no way. I mean, we're putting close to $1 million in the funding. We would not have that without the ESSER money that we have now at that level. But we will provide something.
Does all the money have to be used within that 4 years?
Yes, 2024.
Okay, because I thought if enrollment was dropping, then you would cut back, and then you could keep adding years on it.
And that's been a discussion at the state level as well. We've provided, but their thoughts are, we've had learning loss. If we spend the next 3 or 4 summers offering support and support in the buildings, we should be catching these students up. That's their thoughts. on why it's, the 4 years.
On the credits earned, is that through the credit recovery, that computer program? And do they receive just a credit pass-fail, or do they receive grades pass-fail?
Now, we had a lot last summer. Credit recovery we were adding staff last year to cover credit recovery at our sites. But we did see it decrease this year. I think next year, as things have opened up, I think this summer, families wanted to travel and they didn't probably send their kids, as many to summer school. I think there were more people out and traveling than, of course, last summer. So we'll see what next summer brings, but we'll have the same offerings for summer school.
How many schools are we having for the 2-week session? Is it
Just Nutter Fort Primary.
Okay.
They host that every year. So, and that will continue. That's something that we're required to do.
Why was, in the middle school attendance, why was Washington Irving not one of them on the middle school?
I'm not sure, they went to Bridgeport Middle.
Oh, they
yes.
went, okay.
Yeah.
We just,
Every school is offered a place to go. Yeah, we bus to any site, yeah. So nobody has,
So really part of the Bridgeport Middle School could be part of,
it's WIN South Harrison, Bridgeport Middle.
oh,
And
okay.
Bridgeport Middle.
It's been a
Okay.
WI.
See, that wasn't,
It was there last year, and
Yeah.
we weren't going to cooking it.
okay, yeah.
That was
Okay,
just
just-
right.
Maybe it's just being, but yeah, that's.
And I guess that's fair, because the ones that bus one year may not have to bus the next, someone's gonna have to bus, so you might as well rotate it to where.
and before I finish up just with the summer school, we had such a great response for returning staff members to come back and work the summer school program, so we appreciate that. All of our bus drivers that drove for us last year came back to drive, so that was huge. We couldn't do it unless, we had the staffing to do it, and most of them returned and did the position again, so we sure appreciate our staff out there, because, it was a tough year. We had a tough year.
Well, and we're getting staff to show up for this, where the sad thing is the county has all kinds of money through federal programs to throw at the, what's the county parks and recreation program?
Oh,
You throw
Harrison County
AmeriCorps
Parks.
and all that.
Mhm.
You can, as a college student, you can get a stipend, they can get paid, plus get a stipend at the end, and they had to shut down sites, they don't have anyone taking them. So
Staffing.
we've got staff doing it, but they're having a hard time giving away jobs that pay them a stipend at the end and a salary to do that, because we like to have more of those sites, which we were doing it in the morning, and then you go to Parks and Recs for the AmeriCorps afternoon. They had to shut down the sites, there's just no one to take the job.
We kind of have an idea now after 2 years of it where our large groups of kids are. So we adjust our staffing. We adjusted it this year to try to fit where we needed it the most. You didn't know the first year how many were coming and where they were going to be. Now we kind of really have a good idea of where they'll be. So staffing next year will be, easier to make sure that we're fully staffed where we need to be, because I think we have a good idea where they're coming from and who they're interested.
What are the specifications of summer school? Is it 2 weeks like the extended school year, or it's 4 weeks, Monday through
4 weeks,
Friday?
Monday through Thursday, Monday through Thursday.
8.
And the reason for that was, just from polling and talking with staffing, we knew that we could get staffing if they had a Friday, really Saturday, Sunday, yeah. And it worked well. I think it works to get staffing for that. And it's a full day program. They do academics, core work in the morning, and then we partnered with Parks and Rec and offered a recreation program in the afternoon. So thank you to Mike Book too for working with us again to make that work. He was the one struggling with staff this year.
That's what happened with West Milford. Right?
Yes, we had a site at West Milford, and at the last minute, really, there was not enough staff there, and we didn't have time to post and put one in, or we would have probably ran our own program there. And we'll address that early next year to make sure that we'll get staffing and put a program at West Milford next summer, if the need's there. So it's kind of playing it by ear, but we've got some experience now, so I think, we've got 2 years that'll prove well for the kids, I think. So the other update, got a lot of changes with the food service programs and what's going on. They told us the waivers were not being extended, and now they are. So we've got some changes with the summer feeding, and I'm going to let Mr. Dorico fill you in on that.
Just in summary, bringing it up to speed, obviously through the pandemic, child nutrition has functioned under waivers. They've evolved, changed through the couple of years. When our school year ended on June 1st, actually the waivers ended. There was some advocacy groups out there still trying to advocate and push for some additional waivers for the coming school year. And I believe the magic date was June 25th. There was additional waivers issued for immediately for the summer and some for next school year. And thanks to Bobby Joe Harbert, myself, and some other people being prepared, we were able to offer the FedEx boxes again. So once again, if you're not familiar, we have been offering for, I don't know, a year and a half now, meals delivered directly to students' homes. All they have to do is sign up. And so we were able to get that going again. I can tell you the first week we did it, we had over 2,000 FedEx boxes delivered, and we are now over 2,600 FedEx boxes. And just a note, we're just a little under 1 million meals delivered via FedEx. By the end of this summer, we'll hit the 1 million mark. So it's just something a question was asked, and we were able to figure that out quickly the other day. So an interesting statistic there. Those will end when we go back to school. So we can only do this in the summer. And for the most part, we're back to regular child nutrition. There's a few waivers that maybe on the administrative side that we will be using, but on the front side for students, parents, we are back to normal child nutrition operations. And I want to make sure you understand this, because you could see this in the media. The federal government is no longer offering free meals to everyone. But because of our levy, and the voters supporting our levy, we have all of our schools CEP. So in Harrison County, regardless of how it's maybe in newspapers and so forth, but in Harrison County, all students will receive breakfast and lunch free of charge, no application required. You'll be seeing some schools advertising free or reduced application again because they need to have this process, but fortunately Harrison County not an issue. Which brings me to the next point, because every single student in Harrison County is eligible for free and reduced price meals. It was just announced a week ago that the summer EBT money has been approved by the federal government for West Virginia. So what that means in Harrison County is every single student that was enrolled with Harrison County Schools on May 31st will be receiving another round of PEBT funds. It will be a one-time payment of $391. They should receive a letter, and then the funds are scheduled to hit their EBT cards sometime in August. I don't have an exact date, but at some point, $391 will hit their cards.
That's a one-time deal.
One-time deal.
Yeah.
This is round 3. We're trying to keep up with this and how it's evolved. But it's just a one-time deal for the summer, $391, which I did a little bit of math. It would be an influx of about $4 million here in Harrison County from these EBT cards. So,
That's all part of that federal, still part of that.
yes, sir.
I just want to ask you a question about it says 18 and under. What about our 19-year-old senior that to receive the food during the summer? Because it specifies that 18 and under.
Technically, by the federal guidelines, it's anyone 18 and under, regardless of grade configuration or anything like that. It's 18
Even
and
if
under.
they were enrolled in May?
You're asking about summer.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh.
that's what was out in the paper. I mean,
Yeah.
and I've seen that before, and it's 18 and under, and I'm just thinking, what about the child that's, stuck at it, maybe they're 20 years of age?
Technically speaking, it's 18 and under.
But it says
regardless of
technically
age.
speaking, that means we're,
After 18, now, we don't get a summer job.
Hopefully that's
Something like that.
the same for everyone then.
Now, I will clarify, the EBT card, once again, that has nothing to do with age. That is enrolled with us. May 31st, so.
and to fill in the new board members, when COVID started, we had big distribution points set up cars pull up, we're giving them food, you know, and.
We
and
hired
that was-
cooks.
Cooks, it was a bit of a nightmare logistics wise. Chris found that company, the FedEx boxes are packed and shipped by FedEx for the same price that we were doing it ourselves. So,
Well, I even back up, we started, everything's evolved obviously, and we were totally doing it with our cooks because of safety reasons, then started buying some food boxes prepackaged from an out-of-state company. And then there was some asking, could we do this in the States to save some, once again, just help out with local economy or regional economy. And things evolved and through connections and so forth. We started using this new company, basically is based out of Buchanan, West Virginia. He does a lot of work with Windley, that's where he's working out of, called Multitude Foods. And eventually he was just packing boxes for us to distribute. And then he even evolved to be able to deliver directly to students' homes via FedEx. And the first time he said that to me, I sort of laughed because I thought it would be too cost prohibitive. And actually it was under our reimbursement originally. We're at a break-even point today. So.
Because of.
and the logistics of just.
Just everything, yes.
Together.
Everything went up, but, and actually I had to bargain a little bit with this summer, because we were not going to be doing this summer, because there were no waivers. And as those evolved, I was staying in touch with him, and he said, yep, I can do it again, and we did have to negotiate the price, but we're breaking even this summer on the boxes.
We have a facilities update as well.
Facilities, departments are extremely busy at this point in time. Right now, the custodians are busy. They're deep cleaning, stripping, waxing all the floors, and they're progressing extremely well. The maintenance department, they're pretty busy with the Wilsonburg renovations to move United High School into it. So we're doing all that in-house, and it looks great. And they're painting the entire outside of the building, inside of the building, along with those renovations. So it's going extremely well. We have some sidewalk repair and also drainage work done. Compliments of using the mini excavator that you all purchased for us. We're able to do a lot of that work in-house with our own equipment. So that saves a lot of cost. So a lot of preventative maintenance that Danny and his department is doing. The parking lots are, right now, they're not quite paved yet, so they're still doing some milling, some excavation work and drainage work to get prepared to do the paving either the end of this week or next week, but it's getting very close.
That's one question. Yeah, Lincoln, where they have the big concrete circles and all, and they got dirt and all that piled up in.
That is to build curbs, so they had to take the old curbing out and build the new curbs, and then they'll straighten that back out and.
Okay, I just didn't know.
That's all right.
Okay.
Yeah, I've had a lot of people
I was curious, that's.
wondering what that was.
Okay.
I think they're at Bridgeport High, Lincoln, and Bird, right?
That's
Paving?
correct.
And they've
All three.
completed Victory's
We
paving.
completed Victory. That was within the project itself. And that looks good. It looks like there's going to be adequate parking there. As far as Victory, since you mentioned it, they've done the punch list for the first floor. We had already completed the second floor. Our maintenance has moved a lot of boxes in, so they're allowing us to occupy those spaces. Furniture will be coming in a couple weeks, along with the stage curtains and the bleachers. So it's all coming together, and hopefully when we get some things in the classrooms, we can get you all out in a meeting. Right now, we're not quite there yet.
Okay.
It's pretty.
Renovations to Wilsonburg as well. It's been painted on the outside.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
Wilsonburg, which is where we're going to
but
renovate
United.
for United High School. So it's been completely painted on the outside, and they've done a lot of the modifications, accommodations, safe school entrance, that Ashley Jason came out and worked on further designing that. And So everybody was on the same page. with
I'm hearing it's
administration.
really conducive to that school.
It really is.
Straight shot through there. It seems to be the perfect building for it.
Locations.
Yeah.
I do have started to get some quotes on some of the seal coating and also the parking lot painting and kind of revamping the traffic flow at Nutter Ford. So we have that. We don't have a price to submit yet, but we're getting close. Danny's working on getting some more estimates. And I will say this, transportation, I just completed the transportation, the mileage report. We have several reports, and you principals can remember all those reports we'd have to do. But we safely traveled over 1 million miles in Harrison County last year. So,
Very nice.
And as far as maintenance, I try to say it every year. And I know coming out of the school, it's in human nature when you work somewhere, maybe something breaks down and you call maintenance, they didn't come here in time. We've only got basically one maintenance employee for every building. So, most people think we have this huge maintenance department. We're 24, 20.
We used to have 52.
Yeah, one per
Okay.
building. So I think they do an incredible job for the amount of people we have in that department.
And I've said it all along, I think that we need to add to the maintenance.
No, and we have.
But I know we have, but that time we add, we lose somebody through retirement and stuff like that. And it seems like we're, just treading water. And I think that, a lot more could be done if we could, if we could get, a few more.
And I've always said we've got some old buildings that we need maintenance. We've got new buildings. If we don't have maintenance, they're going to be
We're
old
gonna be old
buildings.
buildings before we know it.
The new Lincoln High School's a little older now, for instance.
Yeah. No, but I mean, you would think that we had this huge maintenance department. We don't. So I think they do a great job. And especially when you look at the summertime, the way you're using the additional help. I mean, it's a whole army out there.
it is.
Well, we
And
don't-
preventative maintenance is really the key, the preventative maintenance piece that the state is really pushing. And sometimes if you are understaffed, I'm not saying we are, but we push the envelope a little bit. You don't get to do the preventative maintenance, things that you need to do to make sure that things are operating efficiently. And so therefore you end up, fixing things after they break. That is a good point.
I have one thing, and Mr. Lopez does not know this, and only Mrs. Steele's back here. I had a conversation with the architect today. They're moving forward here quickly with the roofing project at Simpson. I talked to him this morning. He was talking to the architect, WYK. They were going to get together today, and he said he's moving that forward quickly. So I guess the rain we had some issues. Mr. Danny was in to see me and showed me some pictures, and so that's going to be moving forward. You'll be seeing that here quickly. The roofing at Simpson.
Or we could give you umbrellas at the same time.
Yeah, so,
While we're into maintenance, and maybe I'm moving too fast or whatever, but I'd like for us to get right away, come back with the properties we own and the properties that we want to basically need to get rid of, to sell and what have you. And if we're going to do it through the, the auction thing or whatever, that we get them to come out and say, these are the properties we have, what they're worth, what we can accept, and then, get moving where we can get these.
Mr. Lopez and I yesterday had that exact same conversation about, what buildings that
Okay.
he was looking at and doing it in its entirety, and just say, this is the, for the auction. It's,
But I don't want to give them away.
Right.
I want to find out what's a fair market value, and then we set it up.
The online auctions that we've used in the past make it very competitive.
Right.
So, and it gets it out there.
Right.
So, but we have several properties, and it may not all occur at the same time, depending on, we may have some furniture, school buses, and so we, from time to time, try to do those auctions. it's really been successful for us. And we really don't have to do a lot of the work. They'll come out, the auctioneers will come out and assess it, the value to it, they put it online, and then basically everything is done online. You can do some site visits with it, and they even help and assist with that as well. So we'll get with that.
It's Kaufman, isn't it?
We use Kaufman.
Yes.
Very good.
That's all I had for superintendent's update, other than just to let you know, we did have a state payroll training here. We hosted last Friday. We had 22 people online participating, and how many do we have here? 12 actually in person came, so we appreciate that. I know we've had a new finance department, but other counties we're finding out are struggling as well with new people in finance, so they've decided, and we may become the hub, I think, for training. She's willing to come here. We've opened up our lab and worked with Mr. Poole to do a Teams feed in so they could get online. So it was quite successful, heard a lot of good things from the people that participated, and they just want more. So yeah, that one was specific to payroll, and we had the actual state person here, did the training, so. That's it for superintendent's update. Thank
Before
you.
we, if I, no objection, I think for the first time in my 10 years here, I need to see if we can move a meeting, our next meeting date is the second, outside of the retreat. The second, if we can move it to the first or the third, whichever is best for.
Monday's the first.
Yes, August the first or third, whatever's best for everyone.
I have no problem with it, since I'm retired. So whichever day sits best with you all. I mean, Monday's good.
Monday's good, but the only thing I was thinking, Wednesday may be slightly better because we'll have the retreat, and if there's something we want to put on the agenda, we wouldn't need to get it out till Friday, correct? The day after the retreat.
That will be on the 28th.
Right, but
It'll be the 29th.
that's what I'm saying, but if we have it on the
Oh, I see
28th,
what you mean.
if we do it on Monday, we won't have time, but if something comes out of the retreat we want on the agenda, then she won't have to get the agenda out till Friday, which would give us that ability. That's just something to
That
think.
on Wednesday.
That's just something to think about agenda wise. And we could do it at 4 o'clock if
Could it be Thursday?
Thursday, yeah, either way.
Wednesdays?
I'd rather go Wednesday myself.
Or I mean, we could do it Monday, so
No,
if
no, no,
Monday's
no,
better,
no,
we
no, I
can
mean,
do
if
it.
it's.
Well, if it's Monday and
Yeah.
you said
Yeah.
if something comes up on.
So Wednesday or Thursday, it's down to those 2 days.
Is there a reason Wednesday's not good?
I have church on Wednesday night, maybe.
Well, we're going to do it earlier. What,
4 o'clock?
4 o'clock?
Yeah.
And it won't be then, I'm
Yeah.
sure. Summertime agendas aren't that big, so if you want to do it 4 o'clock
August the
Yeah.
3rd.
on Wednesday,
Oh, okay. August, what?
is that okay with everyone?
That's Wednesday, 4
Yeah.
o'clock.
That actually will give our principals more time to get interviews and stuff done to get folks hired, to give
That
them
way,
one
if
more day.
if something comes
They'll
out of
take
it.
it, right?
And that way because we'll have a full day for the retreat, and that otherwise Angela would have to get that agenda out on
Right.
the day we're doing the retreat. So
And,
this would give you that.
and on the retreat day, it seems like out there's a lot of things that are, we don't want to rush the groups in, but we, at the same time, if there's things that come up within the retreat, I think that we're at an advantage to, that's really important, or a sticking point before school gets started, is that we look at possibility of a special meeting or two if we need to bring a group back in, so that we can get some more clarification if we run into that. Because like you said, if you bring in your staff from here in county office and you're going to hear from everybody, okay, you're going to think, then you're going to have your principals coming in, and I believe it's imperative too that we bring in athletic directors, that we meet with the athletic directors also, because of right now with the way that things are going in regard to equipment and making sure that, that may not be a long meeting, but at the same time, it would be something that we need to speak, maybe as a board, I'd like to hear some of their plans and what have you, because I know.
Superintendent and I spoke about possible additional,
Maybe
special
special
meeting
meetings to
because
cover.
we want to cover curriculum. We don't want to rush that because there's some, with our
Well, right,
numbers.
all right, you know.
Stuff that's gonna come in.
Yeah, we'll have a special meeting for the achievement because all that information is coming in and I don't want to rush through that. We'll have a
Right,
special
right,
meeting.
because it's embargoed
Yeah.
and all that.
Right.
So I just, before we get to the school year, that we get everything settled before that,
Okay.
in regard to all the different groups that we're going to talk to and what have you.
Okay. So we are set for the Wednesday at
Yeah.
4:00.
Wednesday
Okay.
at 4 o'clock.
I appreciate that. Thank you. That brings us down to approval of consent items. Do we have a motion?
Will
We make a motion
we
to
have
approve
an
consent items.
update from Mr. Cody?
No, my next meeting is the.
It's every other one. So.
Okay.
Usually once a month.
Yeah, once a month, the first.
Mr. Devano made the motion for consent items. Is there a second? No second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. New business, Nutter Fort Safe School entries, and you have it in front of you there. And that was the bid for two, that's a bid for two entries. Mr. Lopez? You have it?
Yeah, one for, since those are two separate entries for the schools, both the intermediate and primary side. So Thrasher had given us a certified bid tabulation for City Window as a recommendation. Price came in a little higher than we had anticipated. Talked to Craig Baker, and he said that revisited, looked at it, but they're doing business all over the state and out of state. And there's about a 25 to 30% increase in construction costs over the last year. And so when the cost estimates were completed late last year, that is, from the pricing of the materials is really increased. So
We only received the one bid.
we only received one bid. We had two at pre-bid, but they didn't even turn in a bid. So it's pretty specialized, and not a lot of companies are.
And I will say, they have done our previous entry, so
They're familiar with it, yes.
Well, in the school there, that's the same on both sides pretty much. So I would think, without looking at it, the cost would be about the same for each one of them.
Yeah, if I was coming to you and saying we're doing one safe school entry for 125,000 or so, that wouldn't be so impactful, but we're doing two at the same school.
Right.
And that makes a difference as well.
And isn't that $50,000 more than it has been?
And it was estimated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I questioned with Craig, and also talked to City as well. And Craig says this is spot on in what he's seen throughout the state for construction increases, 25 to 30%.
There really wasn't much to trim off. They said it was really
And I'll give you
trim.
for instance, a standalone middle school 2 years ago was about 34 million, and the estimate now is 52 for a standalone middle school, which I don't see them for a standalone middle
It is.
school.
And he's saying that the increase is due to materials?
Yes,
Yeah, getting them.
getting them and just you're talking about ballistic glass. So it's very well designed. There is several places that have to do demolition and add doors.
And what happens with things like ballistic glass, after you have issues like in Texas, the sale of those goes up to now you're in line with people who weren't buying ballistic glass before who now are, which raises the price as well. So it's one of those things you hate to see it go up that much more, but how long do you wait for it to come down if it does come down? So.
Now, is this part of the money that was received for updates in the schools? and all that other, is that?
This was in the budget for the last 2 years. It came in a little more than we thought it was going to.
Yeah,
So, I mean, that's,
but 2 years ago.
we even asked, can we do some of the work ourselves? Can we do some of the electrical work? Can we do, and there was, in talking to them, there really wasn't anything of any significance that we could do. We could own ourselves through our maintenance department that would significantly impact the price of that.
And then what you do, if it's not going to impact the price, then you're just tying up your maintenance department that could be doing something.
Yes.
So if we're 50,000 over, where are we taking that money from?
The additional 50 we have. Safety years of construction.
So where are we gonna find that additional money that we're over on this bid?
Good
That's where, as I say, we'll have to,
facilities.
we'll have to come from facilities, so we might look at it. We can probably have some things that we can utilize, but, I'll just have to start looking for.
Yeah, I think the facilities budget's probably already been exhausted. Maybe not the new one for next school year. I mean, you've got your new budget
Well, we have a new one
started.
July 1st.
Yeah, he's got a new budget, so,
Yeah, we,
I mean,
We have
they'll
to
use
also
that.
operate, we have to also do maintenance to all of our facilities throughout the school year. So,
Right.
I know that we probably can look at that as a source, but probably not. a source.
And then we would give, as we get through the school year, as our needs increase, I mean, we'll find money for facilities.
Well, another
It's-
thing, if we put these places up to sell, could that money not be earmarked to go back in?
It could be,
Earmarked to go back.
Facility.
Facility.
could
I
be.
don't know.
And
I don't know.
he's
but
right,
that's
there's gonna be
facilities.
money.
There's money
There is.
coming, there's
gonna be
I
money
know there's
coming.
money coming, but at the same time, we can earmark whatever we take.
It
into this
specifically says secure entrances in this money that's being earmarked. But
I'll go back
I just
to
don't
my-
know how much it
To
will
my
be.
normal, just take it out of Todd's budget.
He raised his hand. He went-
Mr. Lopez,
How much you got
the
in
two
He's buying
maintenance
the.
guys, they used to
he's
do
buying
that
the-
work.
You're correct.
They've
Just to
done a
do
lot of it.
standalone building,
We have general fund.
and we're
More
doing
Somebody keep
more than we've
going.
done in the past, out of necessity,
The
to
facility
save,
money.
to save some of
There's
the.
And it isn't
facility,
anything,
and that's what
that
he
wasn't a
did.
fault towards the
I told
maintenance
him.
department at all,
No, I know.
because they're in
And we can
half
give
of what
him
they
money
used to
back
do,
into
more than
the
that.
facility money. But,
But well, I mean, talking to the superintendent, we're confident we'd be able to find the money in the facility. I just think we have to do it.
I don't think if we bid it again, well, one is you're looking at least 3 more
Delay.
weeks.
It went up while we were setting it.
Yeah,
I don't,
the cost is going up.
yeah, I'm not suggesting that. I'm curious as to know where we're gonna come extra. We're gonna find a shortfall somewhere. So we need to be able to cover
Well,
that.
we're still having a carryover, so I mean, so far we
so
have.
our area funds will be able to utilize, and then we also have some money that we can take.
Aye. I mean,
Okay, is there a motion?
I make a motion that we proceed with the secure entrances at Nutter Ford at the estimated cost that is come in, and with the company that we recommend.
Yeah.
Okay, I second.
Okay, so that is a motion and second for city construction in the amount of $249,405 for 2 secure entrances at Nutter Fort. The newspaper did say, had a typo and had Northview, but it was Nutter Fort. We'll let you slide on that one. Just one time. So there's a motion and second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. No old business, no policy updates, personnel matters, and there is a personnel addendum in your packet there, and it's the addition of the employment of Marcia Folio, substitute teacher, retirement of Marcia Folio, second grade teacher, full-time 200-day employment term, Johnson Elementary, effective July 19th. Resignation of Austin Sayer, social and emotional learning specialist, full-time 200-day employment term, Northview Elementary, effective July 18th. Tina Myers, English teacher, full-time Mountaineer Middle, 200-day employment term, effective July 18th. Jenna Edwards, counselor, full-time, 215-day employment term, Bridgeport High, effective July 18th. and extracurricular vacate Austin Sayer, lunch duty 30 minutes shared Northview Elementary effective July 18, 2022 due to resignation. That agenda adjustment in addition to the posted personnel matters, is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded, any discussion?
Only thing on this, the one, agenda or whatever, committee, these are not, I mean, these are not people that are they retiring or are they just resigning?
Her resignation.
One's a retirement.
And they're not looking to come back.
They've
on the
taken
side of
jobs.
this. Other
One's
jobs.
outside the school system. I
Okay,
know of one
okay.
outside the school system.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Brings us down to board member comments. Mr. Tucker.
I'd just like to thank these gentlemen for coming in, Cody in particular, since you didn't have to be here. Appreciate the input. Thank you very much.
Ms. Smith.
My cake's done.
Okay, it's done. I'm excited that we get to hear about our safety program. I'm also looking forward to seeing some of the pieces in action and actually working in our schools for the safety of our students and our faculty. I'm also looking forward to our board retreat on the 28th. So I'm looking forward to meeting everyone and speaking to all of the departments. So.
I thought I turned that on.
Well, you did.
That was his comment.
Well, you didn't.
About
Yeah,
technology.
you just used up your comment twice.
Yeah, I can't even turn the thing on.
Mr.
We're
Hogue.
not going to put him on one of those metal detectors.
Yeah, he's not the technology contact.
Okay. No, and I know as we came up on this retreat and we're doing it in-house, but I think right now it's going to put not only you, but your entire staff, as people were switching jobs and then reposting and moving quickly, towards the school year and trying to get everything done. I know it puts you all under a lot of pressure, and I think so far you've done a very good job keeping up with it and our updates on our maintenance and everything else. So anyway, I just hope that we can keep this train moving.
Three. Strike three. Mr. Devon.
Yeah.
I have no comments.
None?
I have no comments.
I guess my comment, two things. One is we call it a retreat next week and it's anything but. We used to go to Stonewall and it still wasn't a retreat because we'd be there till 11 o'clock at night and then the next day and then we'd be there for 5-6 hours and leave. So it's kind of Doc Manchin called it a retreat, but I've never figured out why it was a retreat. It's actually a long day. It's a good day, but there's nothing retreat about it. So get that out of your mind. And then the other thing, I guess on school safety, anything we do up here, whatever we go through curriculum, anything we do here, it doesn't matter if we can't keep them safe in the school. I think that's number one priority. If we send a kid to school and they're not safe and something happens, then it doesn't really matter what we're teaching them. So I think safety should be in the forefront of our mind.
And real quick to go back, I think that, as well know that Dr. Manchin's wife recently passed away, and I think we as a board and as a county, a good debt of gratitude for what he had done for Harrison County, and the opportunity to meet his wife. She was a very, very nice lady, and I think our condolences and our prayers should go out to Dr. Manchin and his children as they move forward here without his beloved Gigi. So I think that we should all keep them in our prayers.
Anything else? Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Children, please go.